Hello and welcome to Verbling. Hi there, I'm teacher Oakley, and in the next hour here in this class we're going to talk about formal meetings, formal business meetings, and I'm going to be sharing with you basically organization, what happens next, the organization of a very formal business meeting, as well as vocabulary and phrases which are extremely common in business meetings. And again, we're talking formal business meetings here. So very useful phrases and sentences to be used when chairing a meeting. If the chair of a meeting is the person in charge, is the chair. So a lot of what we're looking at are words and phrases that the chair of a meeting would be using. Okay. Hello, Valentina. Welcome to the class.
Hello, thank you.
How are you today?
Fine, thanks. Thank you.
Terrific. Valentina, where are you from, first of all?
I come from Milan to Italy.
Milan. Okay.
Milan, yeah.
Great. Valentina, have you ever been a part of a very formal meeting?
Yes, during my job, usually one time we have a meeting with the manager from my company.
Okay. How often?
About one time a week.
Okay, once a week. Okay, you can say once a week.
Okay.
All right. All right. You're welcome. All right, and your boss chairs the meeting, I'm assuming. Is that correct?
Depend because sometimes we depend who organized the meeting, because, for example, sometimes there are a boss that organizes, but in times I organize the meeting, so depends.
Right. Okay. Sure. There's a new product being launched, so maybe product development will chair the meeting. There's a new marketing plan, right? So the marketing chairman or marketing vice president will chair the meeting. Right, of course. Right. Absolutely. That makes sense. Okay. And I have a... Okay, let me welcome Max here, actually. I got some other questions. I'll come back to you, Valentina. Hi, Max.
Hello again.
Hello again. Max, you work in a smaller company, right?
Yeah, and we never, how can I say that? Which verb I have to use? To do meetings, to make meetings.
Hold a meeting or have a meeting.
Hold. Yeah, have hold, okay.
Okay, you never have meetings. Even informal meetings. Smaller companies tend to have very informal meetings. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody's friends with everybody. So.
Yeah, sometimes it's very informal.
Yeah.
Some kind of
normal.
Everyone this cup of tea and just, I don't know.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Today, well, I'm going to be introducing you to more formal meetings. In some places, Japan comes to mind. Right off the bat, where you sit in the meeting is really, really important. The chairman sits at one end, and then progressively down the table, you are ranked. Very hierarchical, very hierarchy oriented. The pecking order is very clear and basically needs to be followed. Um, so, uh, yeah, that can be important in American meetings. Maybe, maybe not so much. It depends. Where I live in the Philippines, nobody cares where you sit. Generally, the chairman's at one end, and then wherever you take a seat doesn't have anything to do with your rank or position in the company. Valentina, how about in Italy? People sit wherever they want, or is there a seating arrangement that has to be followed?
Can you repeat, please? I don't understand. Sorry.
Okay. In a Japanese company, if you were to go to a meeting in Japan, the chairman sits here. The very next person under him must sit here. The person under this person must sit here. There is a specific seating arrangement that must be followed. Okay?
Okay, okay. No, in my company there aren't fixed position, but for example, the people that organize the meeting stand up near the monitor indicate the graphics or
Right.
something else. And whole people stay around the table, but there aren't a fixed position.
Right. Okay. Yeah, obviously, whoever's controlling the meeting, and if you have a PowerPoint, some kind of presentation going on, or yeah,
Yes.
you have to be able to control it, obviously. Okay, another question I have for you, Valentina. Actually, I'm very interested in this, and if for Italian meetings, okay, if the meeting is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Valentina, when does the meeting actually start?
Okay. Depends that people that have to take part to the meeting. For example, if is a very important meeting, all people are very on time. But if is an informal meeting, people arrives about 20 30 minutes past
Oh
the
my!
start time.
Oh my!
But
Oh
it
my!
depends.
Oh my! Oh,
If a formal or very important
okay,
appointment, people are very on time.
okay, okay. Ken has joined us. Hello, Ken.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Thank you.
Ken, do you ever have to attend meetings or
Yes,
form, formal or informal or both sometimes?
both.
Okay, all right. Um, Now, before you begin a meeting, is it customary for people to, I don't know, get a cup of tea or some coffee? Maybe there's some donuts or pastry, little snacks, and everybody sort of wanders around talking before the meeting starts? Or does the meeting just start?
Sometimes, yeah, such kind of snacks available or teas or
Mm-hmm.
beverages, yeah, available. And some other are not. It's up to the meeting, style of the meeting.
Okay. All right. So meetings can be different, formal and informal. I think this is
Mhm.
pretty worldwide. This happens everywhere. Okay. All right. I'm basically looking at the things that the chair of the meeting is going to say. So I want to screen share something with you guys, and we'll talk about it, different aspects, different parts of the meeting as we go along. But I want you guys to follow along with possible phrases and an organization here. The first meeting has to be started, so if everyone's getting coffee and snacks, can everyone please take a seat? Can we please get started? If everyone's here, let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. May we please begin the meeting? All right, people shuffle around, shuffle their papers, shuffle around in their seat, and da-da-da-da. Okay, let's begin. Okay, first of all, actually, is it even here? Wait a minute. Not even here. First, there's something missing from this. I just realized there's something missing from my organization. Welcoming and introducing participants as well as thanking everyone. You should be doing this right away. Okay, welcome and introduce. For example, if you have clients from out of town, you want to acknowledge them right away because they're guests. Anybody who's a guest who's not normally in a meeting, okay, here's some phrases you may use. Please join me in welcoming Albert Smiley and Wanda Bashirley from ABC Company. They will be attending our meeting today and looking at the new marketing plan. Obviously, if you're having a meeting to sell something, a marketing idea, obviously, clearly, you need to acknowledge those potential customers immediately. Or even if it's an in-house meeting. In-house, meaning just the people who work in that company, you would most certainly thank everyone for coming. Okay, if there is a new vice president, somebody just got promoted, this is the beginning of the meeting. Okay, I'd like to introduce everyone to Walter Smith, our new Vice President of Operations. I think most of you know Walter. Clap, clap, clap. Oh, yay. Congratulations, Walter. Something like that. Somebody got promoted. A new hiree, there's a new person in the company, you would introduce them in the meeting. Regardless if they've been introduced to everyone before. All right, this would be done. If everybody knows everybody, in-house meeting, there's really no need for introductions, but you would and should thank everyone for coming. Thank you all for taking time out from your busy schedule to join us today. Something like that. Or, by the way, if you're giving a presentation, it's really, a presentation is kind of a formal meeting. By the way, same ideas here. Does this seem kind of normal to you, Valentina, so far?
Sorry, I don't understand.
Okay, I was just asking, is it normal to say, okay, let's start the meeting and introduce any new people and thank everyone for coming? Is that normal?
Yes, usually it's happened.
Okay, that usually happens.
Okay.
All right, like that. Okay. All right. Next, you're going to state the objectives of the meeting, why you're there. Usually the chairman. We're here today to make a final marketing decision for our product AB13. Our aim is to choose a new supplier for steel, for high-grade steel, whatever. I've called this meeting today in order to, all right, or by the end of this meeting, I'd like to have a decision. Okay, these kinds of phrases, very, very common for the chairman to use to express the objective. I think this is a little out of order because I think apologies for someone who's absent should come with the welcome, thank you introduction. All right. If some key person is absent, particularly if you have clients, particularly if they're outsiders, if it's not a completely internal meeting, if there are people from outside the company, it would be very normal to apologize if somebody's not there. Okay, I've received apology for the absence of Mary Smith, who is in the hospital giving birth to her brand new baby boy. Okay, yeah, something like that. Now, this next part may or may not, depending on your company and your business culture in your company, be normal. You may read the minutes or the notes of the last meeting. Now, also this depends on, may be meeting to meeting. For example, if the minutes or the notes from the last meeting are relevant to this meeting, the chairperson may want them read. If they're completely irrelevant to this meeting, then they may say, well, I think we will pass on the reading of the minutes. Max, do you know what I mean by saying the minutes of the last meeting?
Maybe a conclusion or something like that. In a nutshell,
well,
notes.
it is a summary. You're right about that. But basically, notes. So somebody will be designated to keep the minutes. Is the phrase? Okay, keep the minutes. They make notes, and they may need to type the minutes and send them to all the participants to remind them what happened in the meeting. This would include not just the summary, what happened at the end, but different suggestions from different people, even if they weren't used in the final conclusion of the meeting. But it is a summary. It's not word for word every single thing. That's in court they do that. When you're in court, a stenographer literally writes down every single word or sound that is made in a courtroom. In a courtroom, if you cough, the stenographer will write cough, cough. Okay, so that's in a courtroom. They're recording every sound, but in business meetings, of course, they're not going to go that far. That's way too far. But basically, yeah, a summary, but including the different things that were said. Okay, and the chairman may assign somebody to read the minutes. Ken, in meetings where you work, do they keep minutes? Some places don't keep minutes at all.
Keep minutes means checking time or?
No, not at all. Read the minutes, keep the minutes. This is the verb we use to, Stacy will be keeping the minutes. That means she's going to write down notes about everything in the meeting. One person.
It's up to the meeting, but usually nowadays in IC record is available. So recording or but in the past, especially the kind of trial or such kind of very official kind of meeting, the person that I forgot how does they called. Anyway, the stenographer, writing.
Yeah. Well, in court, it's a stenographer. Yeah, actually, a stenographer is somebody who makes notes and writes down everything you say, right? So the notes themselves are the minutes. Depending on the company, the stenographer or somebody, maybe there's no actual person just to take minutes. Maybe the chairman will appoint someone at the beginning of a meeting. Maybe they'll say, Valentina, would you mind taking the minutes for the meeting? and of course it's the boss, so you have to say, no, not at all. Even though I thoroughly hated this job whenever I had to do it. I did not want to keep minutes. Because usually if you're going to bother to make notes, you're going to have to make it into a report and disperse that to everyone at the meeting. So, you may or you may not review the minutes. Usually, frankly, you probably don't. Let me quickly welcome Rafa to the class. Hello, Rafa. How are you today?
Sorry for the delay. Yeah.
Not a problem. How are you?
Okay, thank you. I'm a little bit sleepy because I am waking up earlier to assist your class. Your always interesting class.
Oh, really? Well, in a boring business class today, Rafa. So I don't know. We're talking about very formal meetings. Anyway. Okay. So the meeting's underway here. We're just kind of going through the organization. Now this next part, well, where this comes up in a meeting is depending on the type of meeting and are there discussion of recent developments on something ongoing. Is the meeting directly related to recent developments? Then this, of course, needs to be in the beginning of the meeting or near the beginning. If, in fact, it's a report on recent developments that has to do with something other than the main focus of the meeting, of course, this would be discussed probably at the end of the meeting. So where this comes up depends. Okay, the chairman might call on somebody to give a little report about recent developments, things that have been happening. For example, Jack, can you tell us how the XYZ project is progressing? Or Jack, how's the XYZ project coming along? Now, an American or British English-speaking meeting, of course, we'd be using first names, and the chairman would just assign people to do things, which is just another reason to hate meetings. You always have to be ready to explain things or to do something. Rafa, have you been to meetings before, formal meetings?
Yes.
Okay.
2 years ago, when I was working for an international company, I assist many different meetings in this way.
Ah, okay.
Many times so boring.
Yes.
With a waste of time for everyone many times, and others with interesting points and going to don't beating around the bush, going to straight to the point, and,
yeah.
And it was interesting. But I have a question, if I may. What's
Sure.
the translation? What does mean minutes? Is minutes or related to other things?
Yeah, the minutes are notes.
Notes. Ah, yeah.
Sometimes the chairman will assign someone. I really can't stress how much I hated this. But they will assign someone, Sally, would you mind keeping the minutes? And of course, Sally can't say no because it's the boss. Would you mind keeping the minutes? So she has to make notes about the different suggestions everyone has, possible solutions, basically everything. And then quite probably she's going to have to type up a report or an email and send it to everybody that was at the meeting or other people who missed the meeting. Yeah, all right. Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask, Rafa, back to you. You attended many meetings. This is attended. You attend a meeting. Usual word that we use, a little more formal. And they were boring. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Valentina. Valentina, you've expressed you've been to many meetings. Are people addressed like this? Jack, John, Valentina? Do people use your first name, or are they more formal?
Depend that meeting we are attend, because for example, if it is a formal meeting about with people of the same company, we usually present with the name. But if it is a meeting with the people from our other company, for example, sometimes we usually the surname.
Right. Good answer. Yeah, that seems very, very typical to me. All right. Right. Outside people, again, treated a little more formally and respectfully than internal or people in the company. Absolutely. That sounds about right to me. Okay. John, have you completed the report on the new accounting package? All right. By the way, this should also be somewhere near the beginning of the meeting, possibly way back when the chairman stated the principal objectives. They may also be handing out additional material that they want people to see. Basically, when that topic is introduced, materials are also introduced. Sometimes materials, if you have, for example, arranged seating, maybe the material's sitting there when you get there in the boardroom, in the meeting room. Anyway, maybe if Jack's going to talk about this project, or has everyone received a copy of the Tate Foundation report on current marketing trends? Okay, well, there might be a little shuffling of paper here if somebody didn't get their copy, or they may need to be handed out. It's very normal. Okay, old business. Try to get rid of the old business first. That means dealing with recent developments or reviewing the last meeting. Once that's done, let's get to the real business of the meeting. The chairman may use some of these pretty standardized phrases. So, if there's nothing else we need to discuss, let's move on to today's agenda. Shall we get down to business? Or they may ask, is there any other business before we get to our main task today? Okay, I'd like to move on to today's topics. These are very standardized sentences. There's in a formal meeting, very standardized phrases and sentences. Now, of course, you could combine them in different ways. If there's no other business, I'd like to move on to today's topic, or let's move on to today's agenda. If there's nothing else we need to discuss, you can rephrase these, but the phrases here, pretty standardized, really. Okay, have you all received a copy of the agenda? All right. Max, what is the agenda?
Maybe it's like a topic or theme.
Yeah. So you may only have one real thing you're doing at your meeting, but maybe it has different aspects. Agendas are often written out like an outline. You know, it's not like normal writing. It's, like a list of topics or the order of the topics you want to discuss. Other meetings, you may have 2 or 3 completely unrelated things you need to discuss, so you organize it on an agenda. Usually the agenda is written before the meeting and emailed to all the participants so they know what to expect at the meeting. Obviously, this is a better idea so that people can be prepared and they don't go to the meeting without the necessary materials they need to talk or to reference. And so you don't end up with, like Rafa said, people beating around the bush, not coming to the point because they didn't even know what was going to happen at the meeting. So it is very normal for the chairperson to say, has everyone gotten a copy of their agenda? Or to reiterate the agenda, to state the agenda. Okay, there are 3 items on today's agenda. First, we must blah, blah, blah. After that, and finally, shall we take the points in this order? Meaning in the order of the agenda. Again, it's like an outline, a plan for the meeting. By the way, since this is English class, I should mention we use this. This is strictly speaking the real meaning of the word agenda. This is what it is: a schedule, a planned business schedule. Okay, it can be. You can also have an agenda for a business trip when you have a series of meetings. That could be called your agenda, or a business trip. It might be an itinerary, but an itinerary includes your actual. Whoops, that's not spelled right. Sorry. Anyway, an itinerary would include your travel arrangements, what flight number, times, who's picking you up at the airport, that kind of thing, in addition to meetings that you're going to have. So an agenda, basically, you wouldn't include travel information, but maybe meetings, business meetings, and purposes of meetings. However, I have to say, it's very common to use this word in other ways, like, oh, he's got his own agenda, meaning he's got his own plan. Sometimes we use agenda, especially talking about individuals not in or not related to business. We use this word agenda to mean plan. He's got a secret agenda. All right, he's got a secret plan. Okay, the chairman has total control. By the way, whoever's supposed to be running the meetings generally has complete control of the meeting, and they can do whatever they want. So if the chairman wants to say, if you don't mind, I'd like to skip item 1 and move on to item 3. I have a squash match at 3 o'clock. I don't want to waste too much time, so can we go to the most important part of the agenda, item 3? All right. They may do this just to remind you who's in control. Obviously, if you're giving a presentation, you have to follow your own agenda, but the chairman calling a more general meeting can do whatever they want. Allocation. Okay, to allocate. Ken, what is to allocate?
Allocate rules. Maybe decided rule or something?
Well, if you allocate, it's very similar to you give out jobs. You know, and if you're the chairman, you're going to appoint people to do things. All right. Ken has kindly agreed to take the minutes. Now, I don't know about meetings where you guys are from, but when the chairman says this, she just says it. It's not like you agreed to anything. She's just saying, you're taking the minutes. You're reporting on the marketing. You're doing this. You're doing that. Yeah. But this is formal meeting speech. Has agreed to. This is very normal, although it's not really real. Okay. All right. And Max has kindly agreed to give us a report on this matter. Really? I did? Okay.
Why should I?
Yeah. All right. This warning: if you're stuck in one of these formal business meeting with Westerners, particularly English speakers, they use has agreed, very common, but it just means you have been appointed to do something. All right. Okay, here's some more common parlance, common language. All right, Valentina will lead point 1, and Walter is going to discuss point 2, and then Brittany is going to cover point 3. Something like that. So this is definitely something that the chairperson does. And yeah, usually the big boss is the only person who can just demand people do things. Okay. If you've had a million meetings in for the same general purpose, this next part is unnecessary. But if you're making a very specific decision regarding something, the chairman may need to set some ground rules for the meeting. Okay, they may, so the meeting doesn't go too long. This is actually a very good idea. Actually, when this doesn't happen, you end up with long meetings that sometimes go off topic. It's actually very important for whoever's controlling the meeting to say, all right, this is what we're doing. We're not going outside of this. And they may have to drag people back to the conversation. I'm sorry, Brittany, but you're getting a little bit off topic. I would like to return to our agenda. Let's stick with our topic. If you ever chair a meeting, beware this is one of your responsibilities, is to keep people on track and focused. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a 4-hour meeting that does nothing. All right, ground rules. We will hear a short report on each point, followed by a discussion around the table. Okay. Or you want everyone's opinion on something. Oh, I hate it when they do that. Valentina, have you ever been to a meeting where the chairperson says, let's go around the table so I can hear everyone's suggestions? Surprise!
Depends what is the agenda, but usually at the end of a single topic, there are a round table to suggest own idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate when this happens in the meeting because there's always 1 or 2 people in the meeting that love the sound of their own voice. Do you know what I mean by that, Valentina?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sir.
Yeah. So they're just in love with the sound of their own voice, and they want to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, geez, if you're ever chairing a meeting, just really try to avoid this. All right. It's a good idea to state some actual time rules, too. The meeting is due to finish at 4 p.m. I have to get to the airport. All right. When is the meeting going to end, or some time constraints? We'll have to keep each item to 10 minutes. Otherwise, we'll never get through. We may need to vote on item 5 if we can't get a unanimous decision. Some cases, and we're going to look at this definitely before the end of class. There's some terminology I want to go over. Do people ever vote in a meeting in your company, or is it is it they're never a vote? The boss makes the decision and that's it.
Maybe sometime vote or kind of raising hand and it was required. Are required. Yeah. But,
okay.
Yeah. It's up to the meeting. Yeah.
Yeah. It's up to the company, really. Some companies are very, very authoritarian, and no, there's never a vote.
Right.
Yeah, and others it's fairly common depending on the business culture and the management style of that company. How about Valentina? How about in your company? Do people vote on decisions?
No, usually we can't vote the decision.
Okay. Yeah, you know, it's impossible to say. That's totally business culture. It has nothing to do with country. It's just each company is different. All right. Okay. So, all right, you got the rules. You know what you're talking about. So let's start. That's it. Let's go. Here's a common first item on the agenda is a common phrase. Pete, would you like to kick it off? Kick off or kick it off? Common phrase to use to start a meeting. Okay, Pete will kick it off by giving the report on the latest marketing trends in southern Italy. All right, fine. All right. Again, the chairman will pick on people to begin speaking. So be ready to talk if you're in a formal meeting, because formal meetings, it isn't a discussion. All right, in a formal meeting, the chairman will nod to you, say your name, and tell you to do something. So you have to be ready. Okay. Then everybody does their thing. Okay, we're in the middle of the meeting here. Discussion is made, maybe questions are fielded and answered. Everyone's satisfied. 18 years later, I think that covers the first item. Okay, the chairman, keeping an eye on the clock, should be ready to close items whether they're really finished or not. I think that covers the first item. Shall we leave that item and we can come back to it in next week's meeting if it's not a huge priority? Clock management is part of the chairperson's job, and they really need to do this. I wish more of them really understood this. If nobody else has anything to add, let's move on to our next item. The next item on the agenda is, or now we come to the question of, okay, so the chairperson is using these phrases to keep the flow of the meeting and keep everything moving. Okay, they may do this by doing a sort of handover introduction. I'd like to hand it over to Mark, who's going to lead the next point. Or very short, quick one. Right, now, Dorothy, over to you, please. In an extremely formal meeting, very formal, the chair will refer to themselves as the chair. They don't say I would like to hear from Mr. Adams. They say, just like this, precisely like this, the chair recognizes Mr. Adams. Now, I'd like to share with you guys that in the United States, where I come from, town governments have an open meeting. Every person in the town is allowed to go. Every person who wants to can speak. It's called the annual town meeting. There is a chairman, and he's got to be really good because he literally has thousands of people who want to make decisions. Every decision, how much money to spend on a fire truck, how the school budget, everything's going to be voted on by everyone in the town. So the chair must be very formal and must strive to control the meeting. It's quite impressive. If you can imagine a board meeting where you have 10 or 20 people, imagine a meeting where you have 1,000 or 2,000 people, if you can. It's very democratic. It's very nice. Everyone gets their say, and you can argue back and forth, but it's also extremely formal. It is the only way for this to work. This is where I first heard this kind of phrase. No, Ken, not in the Philippines. Definitely not. No. If that happened in the Philippines, 3 years ago, we'd still be in the same meeting. Actually, in the Philippines, if they had a town meeting, then it would take 3 days for people just to get there because everyone's late for meetings here. No. No. Back in the United States. Anyway, very interesting. But if you can imagine a meeting with, 1,000 or 2,000 people, it's quite impressive. Formal meetings, the chair refers to himself as the chair, probably has a microphone, probably has a gavel, a small hammer, so he can bang the gavel. Attention. Hear, hear. The meeting will now come to order. All right, he bangs his gavel, bang, bang. Yeah, anyway. Okay, back to our meeting. All right, we get through all the points. Ken, do you have a question? We've
yeah, such kind of city meeting is usual in the United States city or towns, or everything can be decided by vote for the citizens.
Yeah, especially smaller places. Yeah,
right.
Doesn't work this way on the state level, county, state, federal level, not anything like that. But for very small levels, yes. In a big city like New York, it would be by the district, for example.
Right.
You obviously could not have a meeting for everyone in New York City. That would never work.
And are people willing to go there, or some people repeatedly go there?
Yeah, you guessed it. The same people repeatedly go there, usually. Yeah. However, in my town where I grew up, it's annual, and this meeting is huge. There's a lot of smaller meetings, a couple meetings a month probably, but then there's a huge one in which final vote is taken on big things, and in that case, it really is 1,000 people. It really is quite amazing. Just for you, for anybody else, if I make any extra notes, I'll be doing it in the group chat. That is the blue box in the upper left-hand corner. Anyway, we're getting near the end. In fact, summarizing. Before we close, let me summarize the main points. This is very normal. You should do this. If you're giving a presentation, that's the idea of your meeting. Or whatever, if you're chairing the meeting, you should definitely summarize the meeting briefly, please. In brief, to sum up. Okay, you need to finish it up. It is standard operating procedure to politely, I guess it's partly polite, to ask if there is any other business. Now, I have definitely been in meetings where the chairman says, "Is there any other business?" And somebody says, "Yes, I wondered about the parking," or "How come we can't clean the women's bathroom more thoroughly? It's always so dirty in there." And the chairman will just say, "And that will do it for the meeting." I've seen chairmen just completely ignore these stupid little petty who don't understand this is a formality. The chairman is not really asking if you'd like to talk about other things. And really, if you're the chairperson, I advise you to do the same thing. Ignore these idiots. Totally ignore them. This means it's the end of the meeting. When the chairman says, "Is there any other business?" they're not really asking. It is a formality only. All right. Finally, you need to suggest and agree on a time, date, and place for the next meeting. If it's a weekly meeting, okay, I'll see you all back here next week. That's it. That's all you have to do. You may need to actually fix a meeting if you're doing something special, a project or a marketing or something, in which case the principals or main people have to be available. So you may have to work that out. occasionally that could be done afterwards, especially if you need other different people in the meeting who aren't at this one. So this doesn't necessarily happen. And finally, you thank everyone at the beginning. Very important. Also, thank everyone at the end. Thank you all for attending. Thanks for your participation. Especially thank anybody from outside the company. Again, at the beginning and at the end. I'd like to thank Marianne and Jeremy for coming all the way from London. Thank you very much. That's it. And state the meeting is closed. I declare the meeting closed. That's it. Now, I'd like to go over some terms with you in the last 5 minutes here about voting in a meeting. See if you guys, curious if you guys know these. Okay. If someone says, I would like to move that, okay, maybe I would like to move that the vote be taken. Or I could say, I would like to move that the proposed budget for a fire engine be reduced from 25,000 to 22,000. Something like that. They're maybe changing something, or maybe they're asking for a vote. Okay, this is in a very formal meeting, English speaking. So you hold up your hand, and the chairman says, I recognize Mr. Moody. And I would say, Mr. Chairman, I would like to move that the vote be taken. Now, I need something to happen. I need one other person in the meeting to raise their hand and say, I second the motion. If I am the only one who wants to take a vote, or I am the only one who wants to change the budget, then guess what? It doesn't happen. In this type of formal voting meeting, you need at least a second person to even call for a vote, or to call for an action. Okay, so the chairman says, the chairman recognizes Mr. Moody, and I say, Mr. Chairman, I would like to move that a vote be taken on this matter. And the chairman says, would anyone second the motion? And somebody else, Max, raises his hand. I second the motion. Okay, now, the first thing that's going to happen is a voice vote, because if a voice vote doesn't work, then maybe a show of hands, and if that's ambiguous as well, then you're going to have a ballot vote. Now, this is for a lot of participants. Obviously, in a company, a voice vote is probably going to be enough. Okay, a little terminology here. Do you know what, in a voice vote, what is a yes? Anybody? In English, does anybody know? No?
Yeah, or something like that.
Yay. No, you're close. Okay. So the chairman will say, we will now be taking a voice vote. All in favor of the proposal, say aye. And then if you vote yes, you don't say yes. I don't know why. This is very old English, actually. It's very old custom. The whole idea of a town meeting, which is where all of this originates, actually. This whole business meeting, formal business meeting, all of this originates in very old, back when we actually said aye and nay. We didn't say yes and no. So many hundreds of years ago in English language. Okay, so the chairman will say, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Okay, the chairman will say, the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. Or the nays have it. the motion is defeated. Okay, so this is a common back and forth when there's a vote taken. Somebody has to make a movement, has to move, that is suggest something happens, it has to be seconded, votes taken, and the motion is, these are the terms we use. The motion is carried, vote yes. Suggestion is voted yes. The motion is defeated, it's voted no. And that's all I have for you guys today. Do you guys have any questions for me?
How about calling someone's name, Mr. and Ms., or if somebody has a title, maybe president or chairman or professor or doctor or any such kind of titles?
Sure.
Okay.
What's your question?
Maybe the calling somebody the name in the meeting.
In a very formal meeting, then you would call them by their surname. In a less formal, or if it's in like a town meeting I was talking about, it would be very formal. It would definitely be Mr. Smith, Mr. Farnham, Mr. Tanja, whatever. Informal internal meetings, it would be, Ken, could you talk about the first point like that?
Okay.
All right. So, yeah. And of course, any other honorifics, you know, Dr. Smith, you know, obviously you would use that if he's a doctor. Okay. Any other questions before we go? Hello, Nidair. Goodbye, Nidair. Hello, Nidair. Goodbye, Nidair. Thanks for coming by. But we're actually overtime already. So no questions. Thank you.